Okay, well, thanks for joining us today for our overview of Google Classroom for TDSB families. Over the next 30 minutes or so, we'll be going over some of the features of Google Classroom, including how to access it, how to log in, some of the key tools it has, and then finishing up with an overview of some of the available help resources that both TDSB and Google have put together. So we wanted to start off with talking a little bit about, what is Google Classroom, and highlighting for you some of the pieces about G Suite for Education. So Google Classroom is one of the tools that's provided to school districts as part of G Suite for Education. So TDSB is a G Suite for Education customer. We have a signed legal contract with Google for this service. And wanted to highlight as well that G Suite for Education is very different from a regular consumer Google Gmail account that any person can sign up for. In order to be a G Suite for Education school or district, you must engage in a legal contract with Google that outlines things like privacy, data ownership, security, and support. So although the tools sometimes look similar, that we have both Google Drive and Gmail, etc., inside G Suite for Education and a regular consumer account, the tools are actually quite different within G Suite for Education. The districts have a lot of controls and settings with which to support and protect their staff and students. So in terms of Classroom, all TDSB students and school staff have access to Classroom. So that's from kindergarten all the way up through grade 12. And we have classrooms at all of those grade levels using this particular tool. And Google Classroom can be accessed through the web, but also through an iOS and Android app. And we'll talk a little bit more about that specifically later. But this platform can be accessed anywhere in the world. All you need is an internet connected device, and you're able to log in and access Google Classroom. And lastly, wanted to mention that Google Classroom is one of 2 online classrooms that are provided and supported by the district. Brightspace is the other one, which we did a learning session on yesterday. So in terms of G Suite for Education tools, there are quite a number that are provided as part of the service, and you may have seen some of these when you've been working with your children. You may have used some of these tools through your personal Gmail account. So some tools like Drive and Gmail are common to both, but some of the tools are only available within G Suite for Education. So for example, Classroom is one of those tools that is G Suite for Education only. And that's what we're going to be talking a little bit more about today. But these are the most popular, most used tools within G Suite. And you'll notice over on the far right-hand side, the Gmail and Google Sites tools. We have these turned on for our students in grade 4 to 12. So under grade 4, they're turned off, essentially. And so that's one of the additional options you get with a G Suite for Education, is that you can enable or disable services according to groups of students. So in TDSB, we've done that by the grades as opposed to the school level. So in terms of logging in to Google Classroom, there's a few pieces of information that you'll need. The first thing you'll need is your child's TDSB Google account, which looks like a firstname.lastname@student.tdsb.on.ca. You'll need your child's 9-digit Trillium student number, which is not the Ontario education number from the report card, but the 9-digit Trillium number is the number that is used for students to log in to the Wi-Fi at school. It's used to log into Windows devices at school. It's on the student's library card. So it's something that they would use fairly often throughout their a regular week at school. You'll need the child's password, and students only have one password. So this is the same that they would use in many different areas of our digital learning environments. And then if you've never logged into Classroom before, you may need a class code to access it. But I would imagine by this time that most of your children's Google Classrooms are already set up and running. Okay. So in terms of logging into our G Suite for Education tools, Classroom specifically in this example, we have a site called Academic Workspace, which is our sort of staff and student portal to log in. So the URL is on the screen there. And literally from anywhere in the world, any internet connected device, you can access aw.tdsb.on.ca and log in as is illustrated on the right-hand side. So that's just a sample student number that you might log in with. So again, 9 digits, the regular password, and you click login, which will bring you to this next screen, which is our Academic Workspace landing page. And Academic Workspace fulfills a few different functions for us in the district, but one of them is sort of a launching pad for different tools and services that we have. So we do have a dedicated Google Apps tab within Academic Workspace, and Classroom is one of the options that you see underneath there. So you simply hover over the Google Apps tab and go down to the tool that you'd like to access. So for us today, that would be Classroom. Once you land in Classroom, you're more than likely going to see a list of all the different classrooms that your child is enrolled in as a member of. And they'll show up with a banner. And if you're the teacher has a little icon that represents their identity within the district, you'll see that as well. But you'll basically see something that looks very similar to this. If the classroom is not visible on that previous screen, it may mean that you haven't actually joined that class yet. So over on the far right-hand side, just by the little menu item, you'll see a plus sign. And when you click on that plus sign, it's going to give you 2 options. So if you are a student, you're only going to see join class, but if you're a teacher, you will also see the option for creating a class. So a student would click on join class if they didn't see the class they were looking for. And the teacher would have provided you with a class code. So usually like a 6 or 8 digit combination of letters and numbers. You would simply type that in, case sensitive, and click join. But again, I think that most of our students' classrooms have already been set up at this point in time. So once you're into the particular classroom that your child is using, there are 4 main areas within Google Classroom. So we have a stream, a classwork section, a people section, and a mark section. So for today, we're going to be spending most of our time talking about the stream and the classwork. The people section is really a place where there's a list of all the members in the class, and you can use that area to contact your colleagues, your students, your fellow students, or your teacher from that area. Some teachers use the marks page and some do not. So if you don't see the marks page, like in the example that's in front of us at the moment, that's because the teacher has chosen not to use that particular area, but others do. And if, of course, then you would see that right beside the people label on the sample in front of us. So starting off with the stream. So the stream is your landing page when you come into Google Classroom, and what you see are a series of pieces of information, essentially announcements, etc., that the teacher wants to share with the students. So it could be things like, a morning announcements, could be resources, could be videos, could be links to content. But this is essentially like your information page that you would find a lot of the information the teacher wants to share with you. You see on the first example that we have here that there is an opportunity for comments. So if the teacher leaves the comment option turned on, then students can reply to a post that a teacher has provided, perhaps asking a question or sharing a thought or an opinion. Teachers do have the option of turning those comments off if they don't want to use them. One of the main reasons that your students, your children are going to be using Google Classroom is to, get access to assignments and material and content. And you'll notice sort of right in the middle of the screenshot that there is a view all that's underlined in red. And this is a quick sort of access for a view of all of the assignments that the teacher has posted within Google Classroom. So that's what I'm, in our demo today, I'm going to pretend that I've clicked on that view all. And that would take us to the next screen that is showing us the list of all the different assignments and activities that the teacher has provided to the students. So this is a quick way to get to the assignments. So we've gone from stream, we've clicked on view all, and then you would land on this particular page where the different assignments are listed. So for this particular student, you can see that there are about 7 or 8 different assignments here. Some of them are in progress, so they have been assigned. Some of them are missing, which means that the due date for that particular assignment has passed and that particular student didn't hand that in. So it's showing up as missing. And you see on the left-hand side underneath the word filters, so you can click on some of those little menu options to see, are there things that I need to do, which are assigned, things that have been returned to me as the student, or things that might have been missing and maybe yet have not yet been handed in. So when the next section we're going to talk a little bit about is the classwork section. And this is really, this is the entire class view of all the different assignments and activities that the teacher can make available to the students. So you notice on the left-hand side, there's a topics section where a teacher can take the work of the class and divide it up into different areas. So in this particular case, we've got art, spelling, morning message, etc. And then when the teacher creates an assignment and wants to provide it to the class, they can attach it to one of those topics. So if you're working with one of your children and you want to say, you know, I think there's something we have to do for math, you don't have to scroll through the entire page. You can just go to the left-hand side, click on the topic of math, and then you'll be presented with only those assignments that have been tagged underneath the math topic. So in terms of getting to the actual assignment that the teacher's posted, there's a couple of steps that we need to do. So number one, we're going to view the topic of writing. So in this case, we can pretend that we've clicked on that left-hand navigation, the writing topic, and that's now given me a list of 3 particular activities or assignments that are available in the writing area. Number 2, I'm going to click on one of those. So the very first one, the descriptive writing, Team 1 activity. And that's going to then give me the details of that particular assignment. And then when I click on View Assignment, I can then, as the student, add a document that's going to help me to submit my work. So I'll get in and I can see that there's 2 different files that have been provided for the students here. So one is Google Doc, looks like it might be an explanation and definition of the task that the teacher wants the students to do. And the other one is a video that's been provided as a resource about how to write a descriptive paragraph. So these are sort of the 3 steps for the students to access their specific view of the assignment. So number 1 is the list of the assignments by the topic of writing in this case. Number 2 is the class view of that particular assignment. And then number 3 is the individual student's view of that particular assignment. So moving on, we wanted to talk a little bit about what you might see on the classwork screen. So when the teachers create activities or assignments, they have a few different options of what they can provide to students. So the first one that you will see probably fairly often is an assignment, which requires the students actually hand in or submit something. And so this example we have is a math lesson that has a date of posting of Tuesday, April 7th. There's a little bit of a description for me. And over on the right-hand side, it shows that I can either add or create a Google document. So I might want to create a Google Word document, or this one's a math lesson. Maybe I need a spreadsheet. I would do the work as a student. And then when I'm finished and I'm ready to submit it, I would simply click on the hand in button there, and my work would automatically be made available to my teacher. There is a little private comment box there where the teacher and student can have a little dialogue back and forth. So if a student required clarification or had a question about the assignment, they could do so that way. So that's an assignment. Another option that you may see is a discussion question. So the little blue circle with the question mark icon, that's an indication that this is a discussion question. So the teacher would post up something that they wanted everybody to think about, talk about, provide a response. So in this particular one, what letters and words are missing from our morning message? And the student would click on the Google slide entitled morning message, and it looks like there are some ideas or pieces of information that might be missing. And then in the class comment box that you see towards the bottom, that's where the student could enter in their information. So this one is entered directly on the screen. There's no need to go to a different Google document or different place to respond to this particular activity. Student simply types in their answer and then clicks hand in, and then they've submitted their particular response for this work without having to go anywhere else. So these are a couple of samples or examples you might see at the elementary level. Going on to the next one, looking at the high school level, very similar idea of an assignment. So you notice the blue circle with the clipboard icon. I would look at any resources that are provided to me, and then again, simply go ahead and submit my assignment if I did it in another file format, or click Add or Create to start a Google document in that way. Another type of resource that can be provided to students is something that you would consider like a handout or a set of instructions, could be a resource, could be a piece of content that you want the students to do in order to help them with a particular task or assignment that the teacher might provide. And you can see that that is indicated by the blue circle and the little icon of paper, and then a little bit of a bookmark idea that's represented there. And so this is provided to all the students so that when they click on the resource here, in this case, it's a copy of a novel study, that would create a copy of that document, either for the student to work in or a copy for them to view, to perhaps read some information and start to craft their response to the assignment. So that's a bit of an overview of what classwork looks like at the high school level. So again, just to summarize, and this one, there's different kinds of material that the teacher can provide on the classwork page, indicated by that little paper icon with a bookmark. So it could be a piece of material, content, a resource that the teacher wants the students to use. And then the class comment feature, again, is posted there. So students may, again, ask questions. They might provide a response or an opinion or a thought about the resource that's been posted. And those class comments would then continue to sort of appear and stack one on top of another on that particular classwork page, connected to that, in this case, the land acknowledgement resource. And this page just gives us an example of what those comments start to look like once students have started to comment there. And the teacher, in this case, Mafuza, has given us an example of how you can tag a student by hitting plus and then typing the person's email address. And then that person would get a little notification to say, oh, I have something for you and I've made a note of it here. Okay, so we just included this screen to show you what the comments might look like as you start to, as they start to build when they're attached to something. So a comment and a question that often comes in from students and parents when they begin to use Google Classroom is, how do I actually create a new document to start my work and then submit it or hand it in? So we've seen this little screen where it says your work and there's a plus add or create sign. And when you click on that particular plus or create sign, it's giving you a very quick, short little menu about creating a new Google document. So in this example, we could create a new doc, which is like Word. We could create a new slide, which is like PowerPoint. Sheets, similar to Excel. And drawings is a unique tool, I think, to G Suite, where you can use a variety of different drawing tools to either create something of your own or edit existing images that you might have. So any of those particular kinds of file types can be then worked on and then submitted as a response for that particular assignment or learning activity. One of the questions we've seen come up quite a bit in this remote learning period is that the student may have done some work on paper and they would like to hand that in as part of their Google Classroom work. So a couple of options for doing that. So if you have a laptop with a webcam built in, you can go, if we go back to this particular screen, I would create that first option there where it says create new doc. I would create a new Google document. That's what we're seeing here on this particular screen capture. And then from the menus, I would go to insert and I would go to image, and then I could select the camera, which will then activate the webcam on the machine. And I could hold up the piece of paper, or I could manipulate the laptop and take a picture of the paper on a flat surface. Some of the younger students have been asked to respond to questions and activities by sharing something from their home. So it could be, describe something that you're seeing, something that you did today, something that has meaning for you, something related to sort of an inquiry or an investigation. So you might take a picture of an object rather than a piece of paper, and then that can be the submission that you respond to your Google Classroom assignment with. So that's the way that you would do that using a webcam built into your laptop. So we also wanted to highlight today that there are some options for mobile for Google Classroom. So Google Classroom can be accessed and has a full set of features on the web, but it also is a very robust mobile app for both Android and iOS. So available in the Google Play Store and available in the Apple iOS Store. And interesting to note that when remote learning sort of got going about 4 or 5 weeks ago, students from around the world went into the iOS store and were giving the Google Classroom app a rating of 1 because they were trying to get it removed from the store so they didn't have to do some of their work. So that's one of the reasons why you see the rating is kind of low on that one. So a couple of screen captures here. So this is assuming an iOS device, so an iPhone or an iPad. So you would download the app. First screen would prompt you to get started, and it will always take you into the academic workspace sign-in screen. And we saw that a few slides ago, where the first screen prompts me with my username, which for the students is that 9-digit student number, their regular password. And then the next screen would ask them to provide their Google account ID, which is in the form of firstname.lastname at student.tdsb.on.ca. Once I've completed those 2 steps, then I would be signed into Classroom. And we'll see what that looks like in a second. We're just gonna have a look at the Android screen, which has one additional step, and things are in a little bit of a different order here. So because with your Android device, it's really attached to your, I would say your consumer Google account, the first thing it's gonna do is say, we'll choose an account to use for Classroom. So the student will have to sign in with their own TDSB email account. If you try to sign into Classroom with, say, a Gmail account, it won't work. So the third screen we see there where it says Google Sign In, that's where the student would sign in with their TDSB account. So again, firstname.lastname at student.tdsb.on.ca, which will then take them to the AW screen where they would sign in with their student number and their password. So when you log into Classroom on a mobile device and your screen is empty after you've logged in, you will probably need to add or join the class. So again, clicking on the plus sign, enter in the class code that the teacher will have provided to you, and then that classroom that you were added to, in this case, the example we have is called Virtual School, will appear for you on the page. And then it's simply a matter of just clicking on that, and you'll be taken into the classroom itself. So things look a little bit different on the mobile view of Classroom. So you'll notice at the very bottom, our Stream, Classwork, and People tabs are there rather than at the top where they are in the mobile version. And you'll notice 2 other pieces. On the top left corner, we have the 3-line settings menu, and in the far right corner, a little bit of an information option there. So just a little bit of change in the way that the mobile version asks you to navigate around the app. But all of the same functions are there. So I can get a list of all of the stream announcements. I can get a list of all of the classwork assignments. And just for example here, this is a list of our different topics that we have for the classwork. And then if I want to get to that quick shortcut to the individual student assignment that we saw previously, I need to click on that little icon of the individual in the top right corner, which will take me to the student assignment page. This is a quick summary of all the different assignments that the student is connected to. Here's an expanded view of the classwork page. So again, it's going to show me the list of all of those topics. This time, if I want to see a filtered view of those topics so I can quickly see all of them, I click on the sort of descending settings menu that's highlighted with a red circle, and it'll show them to me on another little pop-up. So art, sorting, morning message, spelling, etc. I can then click on any one of those to get to a more filtered view of the assignments that are contained within one of those particular topics. So wanted to give you a little bit of a look at what an assignment might look like. It does look a little different on the mobile view compared to the web version. So in this particular one, this is our morning message sample again. So it's attached to a file, which in this case, the yellow icon tells me that that's a slide presentation. Student can click in the little box where the answer is, type the answer, and they would be able to click submit when that's finished. So that's an elementary example for you. And another option here for secondary, for example, the teachers provided a little blue Google Doc icon to start off the assignment. So again, as a student, I can click either add attachment, or we'll show you in a moment how I can create a new document to then turn in the assignment or hand it in. So if I wanted to, using a mobile device, again, a tablet or a phone of some kind, I can do a few different things. So when I click the option to access some of the other Google tools, for example, it will give me options to do a new doc, a new slide, or a new sheet. And those are all separate apps in the Android or iOS space. So it would be important to also install those on your phone. However, you can also access any photos you may have taken from the device itself. So this is really handy if you've been using the mobile device to take photos of, again, say a piece of paper you've been doing some work on, or another tactile object that you might have within the house. It could be, a photograph you have in a frame, or an object, or something like that that you've been working on that you want to use as your response and hand in for that particular assignment. So that gives you very quick access to the photo roll of a mobile device. And then this gives you a quick view of what the class comments look like when they've been attached to a post inside classwork. So you can see on the far right-hand side that the comments are not visible automatically. I need to actually click on them to then expand that little window to show me what the comments can be and what they would look like. Towards the end, one of the things we wanted to highlight is that teachers do have the option of enabling what Google calls a guardian email summary. And this is basically an option for a parent or guardian to receive a daily or weekly summary of some of the activity within the class. So if the teacher enables this and the parent signs up for it, they can get a summary of the activities and assignments that have been posted connected only to your child. So you would only be receiving information that was either posted generally for everybody. So just for example, this example is that the grade 10 culminating assignment's been posted, it's been due, and then there's some details underneath. And then there can also be information that is pertaining to your child. But these are not communications the teacher has crafted just for a parent. So it's not an email itself. It's sort of a gathering of information that's been posted into the classroom and then shared through email by Google Classroom itself. So in terms of help options, we'll be highlighting some of these on the next screen as well, but just wanted to highlight here that Google has created a classroom guide for guardians. So again, that's how Google refers to parents and guardians, as they use the guardian name. So that's available to you. Students and parents and guardians can, of course, ask their teacher for help. And if it's a technical question, teachers can contact TDSB's help desk with any particular issue they might be having. We do have the TDSB Remote Learning Family Support site, which I'll show you in a second. And if you had any questions about today's presentation, I'd be happy to receive those to my email address that's posted on the screen there. So the remote learning site that the district has built for parents has quite a few different resources, and we recently built a page all around technology. So I had mentioned that Google Classroom Guide for Guardians, which is our very, very first tile that's there. We also have surfaced a few other things there for you. So one of them is the Google Guide to Digital Citizenship. We've created a guide to help you with your children logging into Google Classroom. That's the Accessing Google Classroom Guide for Parents. We've created a guide to help parents help their children log into Brightspace. That's the other one you see there. And then the student device and password help tile, that's actually a link to a live chat with our client service desk or our help desk agent. So if you had a question about your child's password, if you had received a device from the district to help with remote learning and you had a question about that, you could go there. Any sort of technical question where you are needing some help to a technical issue. It's not a place to get help about how to do an assignment or a question that you might ask your teacher. Those things should certainly be directed back to your child's teacher or your child's early childhood educator. The student password and device help is really about you need help connecting to Wi-Fi, or there's a problem with your child's account, that sort of thing. And those are all accessed, all of those 5 resources there are accessed through the district's remote learning site, and the link is in the bottom corner of the slide there. So folks, that's the end of our session for today. I hope that this overview of Google Classroom was helpful to you. And I encourage you to check out the resources that we have posted for you on that remote learning site. So thanks again for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful day.